Hey everyone, Scott from RPGFan, and today, thanks to the lovely people over at Square Enix, I not only get to share a hands-on preview of the upcoming Final Fantasy Tactics, the Ivalice Chronicles, but I also get to share my interview with director Kazutoyo Mahiro. Final Fantasy Tactics is a game I have played countless times over the years, in so many different ways, and it remains one of my favorites. So you know I had to ask some amazing questions for Mahiro-san, as well as get into the nit and gritty of the many gameplay balance changes, gameplay additions, and quality of life changes that you can expect in the Ivalice Chronicles. The entire interview is in a link in the description below, along with a written version of this preview. As we go through this, I will be going over the changes, but I highly recommend reading the entire interview if you want to know more about the changes to the game. And as always, I hope you enjoy. So I can't stress enough how much I enjoy Final Fantasy Tactics, and I can't begin to count how many times I've actually played the game. It's one of those games that sticks with you as enjoyable multiple times in many different ways. I still consider it the best Final Fantasy game, and I'm very excited for the Ivalice Chronicles. We got to play two sections of the game. First, I got to experience the always enjoyable Zarekio Falls fight, as well as playing a small portion of Chapter 1. I even got the opportunity to play Chapter 1 on Tactician difficulty, which is the hard difficulty, as I wanted to see what this setting was all about. In the small time allotted, I managed to make my way all the way to the Sandrat Stitch, aka the Sandrat Cellar. This preview covers both sections in turn, allowing me to describe my experience with both. Given a save right before this iconic fight, the first thing I did was take off Gafgarian's equipment. Yes, this trick still works, and you can not only strip him of his useful gear to use for yourself, but Gafgarian still does the fight with zero equipment and low HP. It also takes away his powerful Dark Sword abilities and makes him useless in the fight. The thing you can't do this time is change Gafgarian's job, because all the guests are locked into their current job. So no more changing him to Chemist or to any other low HP job to make him even weaker. This also means you can no longer change the leader and Argot's classes to something like Archer in Chapter 1 either. So the first big change from the original Final Fantasy Tactics is the ability to choose and finally see where on the map units will be placed. The deployment screen is now a grayscale version of the battle map where you select everyone's placement. You still can't see the enemies you'll be fighting, but understanding which tiles represent what parts of the map is 1,000% better than the original deployment screen. The fight plays pretty much the same as it always has, with Ovelia and Delita doing their own thing while you deal with the knights on your side of the bridge. I noted that the Holy Sword abilities use their War of the Lions names, despite the game not using the War of the Lions script. This is also true for a few other abilities as well, and there are a few with new names, such as Defend being named Evasive Stance, which better reflects what the ability does. As for balance changes, you can read more of that in the interview, though I can say that a few things have changed and are noticeable at this part of the game. First, redone charge mechanics. I asked about this during my interview with Mahiro, where he confirmed that abilities that use long charge times, such as Archer or some of the higher level spells, charge and activate differently. I noticed that any character who does not use their turn to move and instead activates a charge ability has a much faster charge time than I remember. I played the game extensively and have a good sense of how long something will take, even without seeing the turn order. And I can confirm that aim and spells fire off much faster, especially summons. Secondly, the AI is much better at using abilities and responding to what's going on. This is another item I discussed with my hero during our interview, which he confirmed. The AI behavior was most apparent during my Chapter 1 playthrough, but I did notice Delita, Agris, and Ovelia positioning themselves better to use their abilities, and even hitting allies in order to kill the enemy, which is a rare occurrence in the original game. And lastly, abilities may not have been changed much, but JP costs most certainly have. For example, Teleport, one of the best movement abilities in the game, is now 3,000 JP in order to balance it out. I can only imagine this will affect some of the heavy hitting abilities like Blade Grasp and Two Swords, and possibly abilities like Sid's sword abilities later. Once again, there is more on this in the interview and why they went down this path.
Nothing can stop me.
To wrap up the fall section, I will say that I love the fact that this game is more cinematic with the added voice lines. I particularly loved hearing the Holy Sword users saying their spell incantations out loud when they popped up. It's great to finally hear this amazing game fully voice acted. Another Ivalice Chronicles edition came up at the end of the fight, and that is the Game Award and the Greatest Contributor Award to one of the characters. It doesn't seem to grant any benefits, but it's a nice new little touch that you can see who did the best. Expect Sid to occupy this spot a lot later in the game. There's also a brief recruitment scene whenever someone joins, like Princess, which is a nice little touch. I wasn't allowed to play past this point, but I was allowed to play Chapter 1 as far as I could in the time I had left. So for Chapter 1, first off, the cinematics in Final Fantasy Tactics, the Ivalice Chronicles, look so much better, and the voice acting in the actual cutscenes definitely adds significantly to the game. Standout actors include Gafgarian and Agris' actors, as well as Ben Starr as Dicestar. Here I also noticed the new style of graphics are much better in person than what we have seen in videos. It likely has to do with how videos compress the look, but the dithering in the sky, especially in the sunset scenes, is still very much apparent. And you can still see the pixelization in the character sprites, and it doesn't look smoothed out as videos have shown. I managed to get up and past the Soundrat Sitch on Tactician difficulty, so now I will recount my mini-adventure. The fight on Magic City of Garland plays out pretty much as expected. It's nice that a new deployment screen is available, as it quickly reminded me of my first time ever playing the game and not understanding how to deploy other units, or even what I was supposed to do. This version is much friendlier for Tactics newcomers to grasp how to play the game. In fact, there's a whole encyclopedia and tutorials to help new players understand all the mechanics. After the battle, I checked out the shop, bar, and recruitment center. You now receive a nice new notification when new equipment or new rumors and jobs become available, so you don't have to be constantly checking. It's much more straightforward and cleaned up, which I appreciated. The recruitment center is perhaps the most improved, offering a range of options off the bat, so you can select which one you like the best without having to go through each recruit one by one. You can also rename anyone in the party here, including the first recruits you get at the Magic City. A nice little addition. At Mandalia Plains, you still have the option of saving that jerk Argrith or choosing to destroy the enemy, which does affect the battle conditions. The Brave changes are still here as well, depending on what you choose. The AI changes were most noticeable during this fight. They were most certainly going after lower health units despite having open lines to attack someone else during that turn, and the characters were definitely doing way more damage than I'm used to at this battle. Argrith was also fundamentally useless, not only in this fight, but the next few as well. He was definitely avoiding fighting way more than he used to, which better suits his crappy personality. I made my way to the door to Slums pretty quickly through the woods, because I had two more things I wanted to check. Luckily, I could fight or flee from random battles along the way, which is a nice new addition. I needed to know how far this game went on this difficulty, and how faithful to the original it was. First off, Dorter still is where the game kinda takes its gloves off with the very annoying Archer on top, and the black mages that can do a fair bit of damage. The leader still pursues the Archer, while Argrith now tends to hide in the corner. I had to check if the other Archer on the other side still spawns without a weapon, and he still does. It definitely shows me that they considered even the small details when remastering this game. I did end up losing a unit at the end due to having to rush through this, and because I wasn't used to the new star indicator instead of the old number counter. But them's the breaks. At the Sandrat Stitch, the first map where you can split the party, I had to check something. I can confirm that you still need to split as directed, and Ramza still cannot be put in the second group, which makes sense from a balance perspective later. This fight has some teeth to it now, but wasn't extremely different in terms of difficulty. It helps that Agrith's dead body, that may or may not have been my doing, blocked the northern doorway for most of the fight. The enemy monks were also doing noticeably way more damage at this part of the game, which led to me having to rely on a few potions and Phoenix Dance to recover. The other thing I noticed at this part of the game was that my Black Mage was doing considerably way more damage because they were charging way faster with their abilities and basically annihilating the knights inside. This was as far as I can make it in the time allotted, and I enjoyed myself immensely. I'm really looking forward to playing the rest of this when the game comes out later this month. Final Fantasy Tactics: The Ivalice Chronicles is shaping up to be the most definitive addition to this game ever made. It retains the great aspects of the original while still adding much to the game and being newcomer friendly. If you want more info, I highly suggest you check out the interview down below, as Mihiro was kind enough to answer many fun and hard-hitting questions about the game from a veteran to the series. And that's all I have for this preview. As always, if you enjoyed this video, likes, comments, and subscribing go a long way to helping us out. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comment section. I will do my best to answer any that you may have. Or just let us know what your favorite Final Fantasy Tactics job or ability is. I hope you have a great night, and I'll see you in the next one.